expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, it's Brother Mike. Yes, I'm back on the radio. You're listening to HardcoreChristianity.com. May God richly bless you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today's Bible study. The Muslims are coming. Man, they're overrunning the place. Will you call somebody and tell them the radio program's on? Give you some interesting information about Islam today. And I'll make a couple of announcements when you make that call. God bless you today. Thanks. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor from the House of Healing, 34 years plus in Maricopa County. If you go to the website, you will see all of our information about our ministry. We're on 11th Street. We're just south of Indian School Road and west of the 51 freeway. We're right in the heart of Maricopa County, Arizona. We have services for healing, deliverance, and teaching. All of our services, every one of them, always include prayer time for healing and deliverance. So whether you come Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, hey, you're going to get healed or you're going to get delivered, period. Settle that in your mind. On the website, you can join us on our teaching channel, on our YouTube. You can join us on our Facebook page and join our ministry and read about all the miracles happening at the House of Healing. You can sign up for December's free seminar. The free seminar is in December. It's going to be a sellout, so please be sure and sign up off the website. Also, hit the PayPal button on the website. Send us a small donation to keep the ministry going and the radio ministry going. You've been doing that for 13 years. I've never been late on a radio payment because of you. Thank you very much. There's a crash coming, folks. It's going to be worse than the one in 2008. And some of you are going to want to sell your houses to save the equity in them before the crash hits. Plus, you can save money on commissions. Go to page 1 on the website. Hit the West USA Realty button and be a good steward of God's money. Save some of it. May God richly bless you. You can catch the radio programs 24/7 on soundcloud.com/hardcore-christianity. Did you see this article in the paper? It was really quite kind of interesting, and it kind of gives you an idea of where this country is going. The United States is headed toward being Islamic sympathizers. America is going to become one of the largest outposts for Muslims in the entire world. They are the biggest growing minority in the country. They breed like rabbits, and they are overrunning Europe, literally overrunning Europe. The devil has used the Arab Spring and the civil war in Syria and Iraq to export thousands of refugees all over the planet, and they're sending them over here now. Over the last 10 years, America has taken in over 1.5 million Muslim immigrants. And there are mosques springing up everywhere, several here in Maricopa County. There's billboards all over the country on major freeways with information about becoming a Muslim sympathizer. The devil is going to use Islam to set up the New World Order, Mystery Babylon, and the rise of the Antichrist. It is a move of staggering intelligence. But let me give you an idea how unique this is now. Did you see this article in the paper in Illinois? Quote, an Illinois jury awarded $240,000 in damages and back pay to 2 former truck drivers who claimed religious discrimination when they were fired in 2009 after refusing to make beer deliveries, which, by the way, was in their job description when they got hired. They were truck drivers, local truck drivers. They made deliveries because they were delivery drivers. And it says a jury was convened to determine damages under the U.S. District Court Judge James Shadid. He ruled in favor of Mahad Abbas Mohammed and Abkariam Hassan Bushail, when Star Transportation admitted liability in March. The men, both who were of Somalian American Muslim descent. And they won the case under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And in that act, it says that employers must make accommodations for workers' religious beliefs unless doing so would impose undue hardship on the business. And the article quotes a UCLA law professor, Eugene Volka, who explained that the trucking company admitted that the drivers often switched assignments. And because of that, the jury said it would be reasonable for them to accommodate the men's request and not fire them, even though when they were originally hired, they were told they were delivery drivers and that sometimes they would have to be delivering beer. They agreed to it when they were hired and then sued them when they told them they wouldn't deliver it. The jury only deliberated 45 minutes. Well, the case would have disappeared and nobody had heard anything about it, except Megyn Kelly on Fox News brought in the judge. The guy's name is Andrew Napolitano. And they went over that case where they both ripped the government for kind of cherry-picking cases because of politics, because the federal government under Obama has become a Muslim sympathizer. But what people don't know is that Satan's grand scheme, his grand plan, is to spread Islam all over the world so that every continent will become Muslim sympathizers, particularly here in America, because in the book of Revelation, America yanks its support from Israel, and we turn our back on them, and they have no one to support them. And at the time that Jesus returns, at the second coming, the Jews are fleeing Israel into other countries. It's right in the book of Revelation. But before all that happens, the new world order of unified religions has to occur. And that's called Mystery Babylon, Revelation 17. And in Revelation 18, the Bible says the actual city of Babylon has to be rebuilt, which it is currently under construction and is currently being rebuilt as I'm speaking to you right now. The current city of Babylon is not part of ISIS and has not been destroyed. It's being rebuilt. And all this has to take place before the rise of the Antichrist, and you can see it as clear as anything. There are millions of people leaving Syria and Iraq and the Middle East who are refugees running from ISIS. The devil is using ISIS to create mass refugees in Europe. Germany in particular is now being overrun, and they are foolishly welcoming the refugees with open arms. But when the Muslims move into an area, what they do is they take over because they breed like rabbits. Let me give you an example. In Germany, the birth rate is like 2.0 or 1.9. Well, that birth rate statistically cannot sustain itself. Here in America, the birth rate is like 2.1 or 2.2. That is barely enough to sustain the current population. But we only have 2.1 or 2.2 because we have many Hispanic immigrants and people of Hispanic descent, and they have more children than Caucasians. So Germany is very similar to America. It's loaded with Caucasians. We used to call them white people. That would be like me. I's a white person. We don't have large families, statistically. But Hispanics have larger families than white people. Thank you. And Muslims have larger families still. They have an average, statistically, 6 to 8 children per family, because in the Quran you're allowed to have up to 4 wives. So you're looking at dozens of children being multiplied out of each family. So very, very similar to Dearborn, Michigan, the Muslims take over the town. Then they take it over politically. Then they're trying to replace our constitutional laws. The Sunni Muslims want Sharia law, which is very similar to the strict principles in the Old Testament. And this case in Illinois shows clearly what's kind of happening now and what our federal government is doing. The EEOC is an arm of the federal government, and they cherry-picked this case so the Muslims would win. And for years, I was a professional counselor here in Maricopa County. 25 years I was a secular counselor. And many of those years I spent working as a rehabilitation counselor and counseled the disabled. Well, I had been part of and had seen dozens of cases go to court over the years trying to get benefits for the disabled through the American Disabilities Act, and one case after the other lost. If you're disabled, you can't get any benefits from the ADA law, and most of those cases are lost, and they've gone up to the Supreme Court on some of them, and they've lost there. But this case here, because it was on religion and because it was favoring Islam, the concept was upheld, and the federal government took the case. Even though those guys were hired with the knowledge, they had to make beer deliveries when they were hired. They got hired, they changed their mind. They said they wouldn't make the deliveries. The company fired them. They sued them under the Civil Rights Act, and they won. They had to cough up over $250,000 in lost wages and back pay and benefits. And this case illustrates the Islamic sympathy that is now starting to spread all over the United States. And it's much worse in Europe. Folks, your Christian life has got to make major changes, and you need to start doing something now. This thing's going to turn on us, and this thing's going to go bad here in America. And our churches here are so weak and have drifted so far into apostasy that we're not going to be able to stop it. What we need is hardcore, old school Christianity. We need to return to the old school to win this thing. Because let me tell you something. Islam is coming. The Antichrist will be a Muslim. He will rise out of somewhere in Syria. And this world's in deep trouble. So are we.
The views expressed on the preceding program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program has been sponsored by Michael W. Smith.